You've been lied to about sleep. Every single night while your body lays still, something within you escapes. And what's more terrifying or liberating is that you felt it. That sudden jolt right before falling asleep, as if you were falling off a cliff. That sense of floating, even though you're lying flat on your bed. That dream that wasn't a dream at all, but a memory from somewhere you've never been. These are not glitches in your biology. They are traces, proof. Your consciousness leaves, quietly, repeatedly. And it's been doing so long before you were ever told what a dream is supposed to be. When your body begins to sleep, your breath deepens, your muscles release, and the brain enters slow wave states. But this isn't the shutdown we were taught. It's a shift, a disguise. What happens next is not random neural firing. It's not the brain simply sorting your memories. That idea is a placeholder for a truth too old and too threatening for the modern mind to accept. Because what if the dreams aren't within your head? What if you're the one stepping into them, into realms and dimensions that predate language, religion, even the idea of self? The ancients knew this. Before industrial clocks ruled human life, entire civilizations timed their prayers, their healing, their decisions based on the rhythms of sleep, because they believed it was the moment the soul re-entered the cosmic field. And they weren't wrong. There are accounts in cultures that never contacted each other, Egyptian scribes, Tibetan monks, native shamans, Sufi mystics, all speaking of the same thing, a nightly departure of the soul from the body, a voyage into unseen lands, a return bearing symbols, lessons, and sometimes burdens. You may not remember where you go, but your body does. That ache in your chest, that sudden clarity, that unexplained dread. The Forbidden Book called this experience the night journey of the flame, not a metaphor, not poetry, a literal unfolding. The moment your consciousness detaches and begins to navigate subtle realms, some beautiful, some brutal, all real. And now the question that has haunted mystics and scientists alike, where does it go? In 1613, a strange volume was discovered in a hidden compartment beneath the ruins of a fire-damaged monastery outside Prague. It was hand-bound in animal skin, its ink a deep rust red. The language was a blend of archaic Latin, esoteric symbols, and a script eerily similar to early Sanskrit. It took decades to translate. Those who attempted to do so often abandoned the task, some claiming illness, others reporting what they called mental contamination. But one copy was made. That copy was eventually seized, hidden away in a vault below the Vatican's archives. It was given a single classification stamp, non licet, forbidden, not to be studied, not to be spoken of. Why? Because it claimed to reveal exactly what happens to the human soul between sleep and waking, and more dangerously, how to bring that knowledge back. The book's title, though faded, was roughly translated as The Map of the Returning One. It described in detail the structure of invisible worlds layered just beyond perception. According to the book, what we call dreaming is simply the side effect of a dimensional transition. Our consciousness detaches, held only by a thread of light, and begins to drift, sometimes aimlessly, sometimes with intent. And every realm it touches imprints something on us. Ideas, emotions, symbols, illnesses, cures, all of it seeded into our waking lives, most of it unnoticed. But for those who do notice, everything changes. The book didn't just describe these realms, it named them. It laid out markers, signs, and symptoms of visiting each one. And most shockingly, it warned that some people never return the same. Not because they are harmed, but because they remember. The memory of where you truly go each night is not something society wants you to carry. It makes you less controllable, less afraid, more powerful. That's why this knowledge was suppressed. Not to protect you, but to protect the structures built around your forgetfulness. Ask yourself, why do some people wake up from sleep and suddenly understand things they've never studied? Why do some children speak of places they've never been? Why do so many dreams seem prophetic, impossible, or too heavy to be fiction? Because they aren't. Because your soul, every single night, is crossing into territories that the conscious mind was trained to dismiss. And that training, deliberate, generational, is what the Forbidden Book was meant to dismantle. You were never just dreaming, you were traveling, And the more you remember, the more you reclaim a part of yourself that was never meant to sleep. You've been to places you can't name, cities that don't exist on any map but feel familiar to your bones, people whose faces you recognize, even though you've never seen them in this life. Conversations that echo in your head days after you wake, lines that seem wiser than anything you've ever heard, and yet you don't know where they came from. That's because your consciousness doesn't stay inside your skull while you sleep. It travels every night. And what's more astonishing is that it follows a pattern, a trajectory, through what the Forbidden Book called the 3 hidden realms. These realms aren't fictional dreamscapes. They are structured dimensions layered over our own, just invisible to our physical senses. The first realm is known as the mirror field. This is where your consciousness begins its nightly transition. It's the closest to the material world, and it often looks like your surroundings, but off, distorted, exaggerated. This is why you dream of your house, but the walls are liquid, or of people you know acting completely out of character. The mirror field is designed to reflect your current emotional state. It shows you, quite literally, the things you're refusing to look at. But it does so in code, in symbols. A flooded kitchen might represent suppressed emotional chaos. A never-ending hallway may be your fear of never reaching a goal. The images are not random, they are precise, targeted reflections. The second realm is called the echo field. This is where things start to bend. Time folds. People appear who aren't from your life at all. The echo field is where fragments of past lives, ancestral memories, and collective unconsciousness mingle. It's why you might dream of being a soldier in a war you never lived through. Why you might hear chants in a language you don't speak, but somehow understand. It's why you wake with emotions you can't explain. You were there, not as a spectator, but as a participant, and it's here, in this echoing space, that you often meet what the book calls the remnants, energies left behind by other travelers, sometimes even pieces of your own consciousness from previous lives, looping, waiting to be integrated. And then there is the third realm, the library of the self. This is the most protected, the hardest to reach. Most never make it there consciously, but when you do, it feels sacred, silent, timeless. It doesn't look like a library. It may appear as a forest, a temple, an infinite hallway of mirrors, but the purpose is always the same: to reveal to you what your soul knows, but your mind has forgotten. This is where sudden insights come from, the ideas that hit you like lightning out of nowhere, the solutions to problems you couldn't solve for months. Then you dream, and you just know. That knowledge came from here, not imagined, not invented, retrieved. Accessing this realm is like drinking from your own source, and when you wake up, you may only remember a symbol, a phrase, a flash of light, but that's enough, because the seed has already been planted. But here's the catch. Most people go through these realms blindly. They drift, pulled by emotional currents or subconscious fears. They see but don't recognize. They receive but don't retain. And that's not their fault. There's a reason why we forget. It's not natural, it's programmed. From the moment we're born, we're conditioned to divide reality into 2 categories. The waking world, which is real, and everything else, dreams, imagination, inner knowing, as fantasy. That division is a lie, a construct, and it's enforced through language, media, schooling, and even science. Because once you believe that your nightly experiences are meaningless, you stop paying attention, you stop questioning, and more importantly, you stop remembering. The Forbidden Book described this as the memory block, a dense, energetic fog that forms around the transition between sleep and waking. It's not just neurological, it's vibrational. It's why you can have the most vivid dream of your life, wake up with your heart pounding, but by the time you reach for a glass of water, it's gone, like it never happened. But the truth is, it did. Every dream you forget, every symbol that fades the moment you open your eyes is still in you, stored deeper than memory, in your energetic body, in your intuition. The book taught that forgetting isn't failure. It's a symptom of a disconnection between mind and soul, and the cure, attention, intention, training. The more you honor the dream space, the thinner the veil becomes. The more you ask before sleeping, what do I need to see? Where did I go? The more the gates open. You've already touched these realms. You wouldn't be here watching this if you hadn't. The mirror field, the echo field, the library of the self, these are not places far away. They're folded just beneath your awareness, waiting. And every night, your consciousness returns to them, hoping once again that this time you'll remember. There's something delicate holding you together while you sleep, something almost no one talks about anymore. Ancient texts called it the silver thread, a glowing filament of energy, thinner than a breath and stronger than steel, tethering your soul to your body. It's the only reason you come back every morning. Without it, your nightly journeys would become permanent. Death. That's the difference. Every night you leave, but you return, because the thread holds, because it waits. But what if you knew that this thread could stretch far, far beyond what you've ever imagined? That your soul is not just taking a stroll through dream fragments, but stretching out into dimensions where thought becomes structure, where emotion becomes location, where time doesn't flow, it blooms. The Forbidden Book goes into agonizing detail about this chord. It describes the way it hums when you're in deep REM, the way it vibrates like silk in wind when you're about to break through into a higher realm. The chord isn't just a leash, it's a lifeline. It keeps you connected to the physical form while your essence explores. But more interestingly, it also acts like a two-way wire. What you experience out there, what you learn, doesn't just sit in your astral mind. It travels down the thread, encoded as energy, emotion, flashes of memory, and plants itself deep in your waking psyche. That's why you sometimes wake up with knowledge you can't trace, a solution to a problem that's haunted you for weeks, a sudden clarity about a decision you were afraid to make. These are not random, they are transmissions. The thread didn't just keep you alive, it delivered the message. But not all journeys are peaceful. Not every night is quiet, and not everything you meet out there is kind. At some point, maybe without even realizing it, you've encountered them. The ones who wait on the edges of the dream world, the ones who are not quite you, and not quite separate from you either. The Forbidden Book called them the Watchers. Their presence is subtle, but unmistakable. You've likely felt them as a figure standing silently in a corner of your dream just outside the light. Or a voice that speaks only once, but leaves an imprint deeper than a lifetime of conversations. Or that eerie moment when you realize someone knew you were coming in the dream and was already waiting. The Watchers are not random dream characters. They are conscious intelligences, some ancient, some curious, some invested in your evolution. They appear when the veil is thin, when your vibration has aligned enough for contact. And when they speak, or simply stand in your presence, you don't hear with your ears, you receive. Whole ideas, feelings, lessons, warnings, downloaded straight into your being. Often, you won't remember what they gave you. Not at first, but it shows up later. In choices you suddenly make with certainty. In insights that seem to come from nowhere. In the uncanny way you begin to understand yourself, even your past, differently. But not all who approach are benevolent. Just as there are watchers who guide, there are also distorters, consciousnesses attracted to chaos, to fear, to dissonance. You've felt them too, the dream that turns suddenly cold, the presence that fills you with dread even when nothing is happening, the shadow that never speaks but watches. These encounters aren't punishments, they're invitations, tests. These beings feed off emotional discharge, fear, guilt, self-loathing. But they can only stay if you match that frequency. The Forbidden Book was clear on this. You are not powerless in the subtle realms. In fact, your will, your clarity, your emotional sovereignty is more powerful there than it is here. The moment you become aware that you are dreaming, you shift the balance. You are no longer a character, you are the traveler. And there's something else. A pattern noticed in mystic traditions all over the world. Every time a dreamer becomes lucid, every time a traveler wakes up within the dream, the watchers step closer. Not the distorters, the real ones, the guides, the teachers, the guardians. They've been there the whole time. But now you can see them, and they don't waste time. The book describes moments when, in lucidity, the dream melts, and you're standing in a different space. One made of symbols, light, infinite silence. And in that silence, they begin to teach, not with words, but with presence. There's an old Sufi saying, "When the student is ready, the dream becomes the classroom. You are the student, and whether you remember it or not, your soul has already sat at their feet, already received lessons that will take years to unfold in this world. But you can accelerate that process. You can start tuning into these lessons now. The first step is simple. Stop dismissing your dreams. They are not random noise. They are not subconscious junk. They are messages, and sometimes they are meetings. So the next time you feel a presence while you dream, don't look away. Don't run. Ask. Listen. And above all, remember, the silver thread is always there, holding you, anchoring you, guiding you back. You are not lost in the night. You are called into it. And now you know there are beings waiting for you in the dark, not to scare you, but to awaken you. Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and felt a wave of emotion crash over you? Grief for someone you've never met, love for a stranger, nostalgia for a place you've never seen. It happens more often than we admit. A dream so vivid it lingers for hours or even days. A sense that you lived an entire lifetime while your body slept. And what makes it so haunting is that it didn't feel like a fantasy. It felt like a memory. That's because it was. According to the Forbidden Book, your soul doesn't just visit distant realms, it visits versions of itself. You're not limited to a single timeline. Every night, your consciousness has the potential to cross into parallel realities, alternative paths where your life branched into different outcomes. Think of every decision you've ever made. Each one opened one path and closed 100 others, but those other paths didn't vanish, they split off. And somewhere, in some energetic layer of reality, another you continued down that road. In one version, you took the job. In another, you walked away. In one, you said yes. In another, you let go. These alternate selves are not just philosophical curiosities. They exist, and more than that, they communicate. The Forbidden Book called them the echoed selves, and it described how, during sleep, your consciousness becomes fluid enough to merge momentarily with these other versions. You might dream you're someone else, living a life that seems unfamiliar but strangely right. You might wake with emotions that don't make sense in the context of your current life because they don't belong here. They belong over there, and yet they are still yours. These experiences are not just curious phenomena, they serve a function. The book described it as cross-timeline healing. Sometimes your consciousness touches a version of you that made a choice you didn't have the courage to make. And in that encounter, something transfers, a fragment of courage, a memory of success, a lesson earned on another path. Other times, the exchange goes the other way. A version of you stuck in regret may receive comfort, insight, or closure because of something you did in this timeline. These moments are subtle but profound. They may come as a sudden realization during the day, a change in your emotional tone, a sense of relief, like a weight has lifted even though nothing external has changed. That's the result of a multidimensional exchange. You are not a single thread. You are a woven fabric of possibilities, and sleep is when those threads touch. But the most fascinating part of this phenomenon is what the book called timeline collapse. It's rare, but it happens when two versions of you become so aligned that their wisdom, energy, and memories begin to blend permanently. You start remembering things you never did. Skills you never learned come easily. You feel more complete, more you. This is not magic, it's resonance. And you've likely felt its beginning already. That moment when you look at your life and realize, I've been here before. Not in a dream, but in a parallel life. And somehow, it's beginning to catch up with you. So how do you experience this consciously? How do you train yourself to access this web of other selves without being overwhelmed or lost? That's where the forgotten sleep ritual comes in. A practice so simple and yet so powerful it was once a cornerstone of ancient civilizations, only to be erased and replaced by the modern obsession with uninterrupted 8-hour sleep. The truth is, humans didn't always sleep in one long block. In fact, we weren't meant to. The natural sleep cycle for early civilizations was biphasic. That means 2 distinct phases of sleep. separated by a window of wakefulness in the middle of the night. And that window wasn't considered a problem, it was sacred. In the middle of the night, during what was once called the waking watch, people would meditate, pray, write down dreams, or simply sit in silence. This quiet space between sleep phases was considered a bridge, neither fully in the dream world nor fully in the physical. And because of that, it was believed to be one of the most potent moments to access higher states of consciousness. The Forbidden Book went further. It claimed that this interval was the key to mastering dream recall, astral travel, and lucid access to the parallel self. Why? Because the brain is still in a state of theta or delta waves, the same frequencies used in deep meditation and hypnosis. But your awareness is flickering back on. It's like standing on the edge of two worlds at once. During this liminal window, intention becomes a magnet. The book instructed practitioners to lie still, breathe slowly, and focus on a simple phrase: I remain aware as I return. Over time, this mantra allows the conscious mind to stay partially active as the body slips back into sleep. What happens next can be astonishing. Lucid dreams begin, out-of-body experiences initiate, and access to parallel timelines becomes clearer. But there's another benefit. Because the second phase of sleep is so close to conscious memory, dreams experienced during it are far easier to remember. You wake up not with fragments, but with stories. Clear, vivid, unforgettable experiences that leave marks on your waking life. Biphasic sleep isn't new, it's ancient. The Greeks used it, the Egyptians, the Mayans, even medieval Europeans. It only began to vanish with the rise of industrialization, artificial lighting, and the belief that sleep was simply shutting down. That lie has cost us more than rest. It has cost us the bridge to our own expanded self. But the good news is this: the ritual can be reclaimed. Tonight, you can try it. Sleep for 4 to 5 hours. Set a gentle intention to wake naturally, without jarring alarms. When you wake, don't reach for your phone, don't speak, just breathe, lie still, ask to remember, ask to reconnect. And when you drift back to sleep, hold the thought: I go where I am needed, I remember what I must. These are not tricks, they are echoes of an old wisdom, a wisdom buried but not lost. Your soul is larger than this life, larger than this timeline, and every night it calls out across the veil, searching for the parts of you scattered across infinity, waiting for the moment you'll wake up not just in the morning, but within the dream itself. You've probably had nights where you slept a full 8 hours, maybe even longer, but woke up feeling like you hadn't slept at all. Your body was still, but your soul, it was working. There's a reason you sometimes open your eyes with unexplained exhaustion in your chest, a heaviness behind your eyes, a strange sense that you've just returned from something demanding. According to the Forbidden Book, this is not symbolic. This is not metaphor. It's mission memory. Your physical body may rest, but your higher consciousness continues moving, serving, healing, guiding, doing work in planes of existence that most people never even realize exist. The book describes these nightly undertakings as silent commissions. Your soul receives them not through words, but through resonance. You don't remember signing up, but you did. Long before this lifetime, your consciousness aligned with certain tasks, certain codes, certain frequencies, and while your body sleeps, your soul responds, not because it's commanded, but because it remembers what it came here to do. Sometimes these missions involve what the ancient mystics called soul retrieval, assisting lost or fragmented beings trapped in dense emotional loops. You may dream of comforting someone who feels eerily real, someone broken or confused. You may not know them, but the emotional exchange is raw, intimate, unforgettable. That wasn't fiction. That was you, helping another consciousness return to its light. Other times, the work is less personal and more energetic, balancing frequencies in places overwhelmed by despair. You may dream of standing in a burning building, or of pouring water into a desert, or of sitting silently in a dark city while a soft light pulses around you. These are symbolic projections of energetic realignments. Your presence alone, your frequency, can act as a stabilizer. That's why some of these dreams feel so emotionally intense. You were acting as an anchor in a field of chaos, holding light in a space that no one else could reach. And it leaves a mark, not only on the dream world, but on your body. That's why you sometimes wake up sore, aching, or mentally drained. You weren't tossing and turning, you were on assignment. There are also dreams in which you teach, you guide. You might dream you're standing in front of a classroom or speaking to a group of people who look at you with quiet reverence. These aren't products of ego. They're echoes of a deeper truth. Your soul carries ancient wisdom, and in certain dimensions, it is sought out. There are consciousnesses that recognize your frequency as familiar, as instructive. And so your dream becomes a classroom, a circle, a space for transmission. You don't always remember the lesson, but the energy of it remains. It may show up in your waking life as sudden clarity, a flood of creativity, or a powerful sense of calm amidst chaos. You gave something in that space, and something was returned. But perhaps the most mysterious of all are the missions we only sense without seeing. Those nights when you wake up and feel different, as if something inside you has shifted, healed, or opened, but you can't put your finger on what. The Forbidden Book speaks of these as veiled services. These are missions so subtle, so high frequency, that the conscious mind can't yet process them. But the soul can, and it does. With every task completed, you are not just helping others, you are evolving, expanding, returning more of yourself to yourself. The transformation is slow, but unmistakable. Over time, your life begins to change. Not because of what you do during the day, but because of who you're becoming every single night. And yet, what good is all of this if we forget it? What's the use of touching the stars if we can't bring back even a speck of their light? That's the final step in this hidden path, retrieval, bringing it back. The Forbidden Book was clear. Most people wake up empty-handed, not because they weren't somewhere powerful, but because they never learned how to retain. Dream recall isn't just a skill, it's a practice of spiritual integration. The memory of your dream is not just a story, it's a transmission, and learning to carry that energy across the veil is one of the most transformative abilities you can cultivate. The first and most important key is intention. What you intend before sleeping creates a vibrational thread between your waking and sleeping self. A simple phrase, repeated with sincerity, has power beyond what we've been taught. Tonight, I will remember where I go. I welcome clarity in my dreams. I call back the wisdom I find. These are not just affirmations, they are energetic signatures, and the subtle body recognizes them as coordinates. Speak them gently, just before drifting off. The shift may not happen all at once, but it will happen. The second key is how you wake. The Forbidden Book warned that the first 5 minutes after waking are the most crucial window for dream retention. If you move too quickly, grab your phone, engage the external world, the bridge collapses. But if you stay still, eyes closed, breath slow, you can retrieve fragments. And those fragments matter. A single symbol, a sentence, a scent, even a vague emotional tone can serve as an anchor to the deeper experience beneath. And over time, those fragments will weave together, forming stories, memories, truths. The bridge between your nights and your days will begin to solidify. Keeping a dream journal is not just a suggestion, it is a sacred act. It is the act of catching the rain of memory before it evaporates, even if you only write 2 words, even if it doesn't make sense. The point is not to understand immediately. The point is to honor the memory, to signal to your consciousness that what happens beyond sleep matters. And when you do this consistently, something miraculous begins to occur. You dream more vividly. You begin to recognize patterns. You start waking up with the unmistakable sense that you brought something back. A new idea, a different emotion, a thread of light you didn't have before. And maybe one morning, you'll wake up and realize you're no longer forgetting, you're remembering. Every night is no longer a blackout. It's a journey, and every day becomes a continuation of that journey, not just physically, but spiritually. This is what the Forbidden Book called the return. Not just the act of coming back to the body, but coming back changed, awake, with pieces of the invisible woven into your visible life. And if you stay on this path long enough, sincerely enough, your very presence will begin to shift. People around you will notice. You'll speak with more certainty. You'll move with more intuition. Not because you've read something, not because you believe something, but because you remember. And that is the real secret they never wanted you to know. You are not just sleeping. You are not just dreaming. You are becoming. Night after night, quietly, powerfully, invisibly, until one day you stop asking what's real, because you are.